Hello, this is Lisa, and today I'm going to show you how to use Photoshop and Topaz Denoise to get the noisy areas of your photo out and to bring the detail back. So let's get started. Alright, so let's get started. This is a photo I took in Yosemite a couple of years ago, and I thought it was properly exposed, but you know, that lion LCD screen on the back of the camera was just not really helping me out that day. And when I got this photo home, it was a little on the dark side. So I've had to pull the exposure and the shadows up a bit in Lightroom in order to get detail in the mountain over on this side. So that is giving me quite a bit of noise in the deepest shadows, and a lot of that noise is showing up as color noise. And I don't know if you can really see it that well on that screen, but it's there. So I want to adjust for the noise in this photo, and I think we've got a little bit of it in the sky as well. So we're going to clean this up just a little bit using Topaz Denoise 6 and Photoshop. So before I take this into Photoshop, I've made my basic adjustments, and then I'm going to go to my detail panel, and I'm actually going to turn that off. Whenever you load photos into Lightroom, it always applies some sharpening and then even some noise reduction as well sometimes. So you could zero these out, but I just turn it off just as a matter of habit, because we definitely do not want to sharpen noisy areas of our photo. So I'm going to start with this being clean as far as having no noise reduction and no sharpening done to it whatsoever. So I'm now going to take this over into Photoshop. And here in Photoshop, I'm going to make a copy of my background layer. So this is going to be the layer that we do our denoising on. So we'll just rename this Denoise. So I'm going to, with that layer selected, I'm going to go to Filter, down to my Topaz Labs, into Denoise 6. Now in Denoise 6, if you have a shot on a Canon or a Nikon or a Sony or even a couple of other cameras here, you can try the presets that are specific for the make of camera and what ISO you were shooting. So say for instance you were doing a Sony and you were shooting with one of these cameras and at one of these ISOs, you could choose one of these as a starting point. But since I didn't, this was actually shot at ISO 100, I'm going to just go ahead and stick with the Denoise 5 presets. And this was a raw photo, so I'm going to start out with my raw light preset. And that's going to do some basic adjustments, but we're going to refine this here in Denoise 6. And in order to do that, I'm going to switch over to my Auto Brighten Preview, and I'm going to turn that on normal if it isn't already. And then I'm going to go to Luma. And what this will do is will help me see the noise that's in the highlights much better, and also in the shadows. So I'm going to adjust my highlights. I'll bring that up a little bit, and it'll do a little bit of work, and I can see that the highlights are looking pretty clean there. And then I'm going to adjust the shadows as well. And I'm not going to go too far with doing the shadows. I don't want to lose a whole lot of definition, even though we're going to bring back some of that. And I really want to look at this area down here. This is the main area I'm more concerned with. So on my Luma, I can see my shadows there. And actually, it's looking a little on the soft side. So I'm going to pull my adjust shadows down just a little bit here. Because as far as I'm concerned, it doesn't really need to be perfect. It just needs to be better. And then, once I've adjusted my shadows and my highlights, I'm going to go over to color. And you can see in my original photo, there's a lot of color noise. And this is actually looking pretty good. I can adjust it a little bit and see if I get it any better. And that's probably about good though. And then you've got blue color noise, you can take a look at that, and there's a little bit of noise there. Maybe we'll bump the blue up just a tiny bit. And then, or red, I'm sorry. And then the blue. The blue is actually better. So we're gonna leave the blue. I think, you know, maybe a little bit more. Maybe we'll go a little bit more with the red. Again, I'm not looking for perfection here. I want to get the least amount of denoising as I can get away with and have it look good. Just the more that you push this, the softer your photo is going to end up. So once I'm done going through my preview modes and adjusting my sliders here, I can go back to RGB and turn off my auto brighten and see how it's done. And you'll notice as well that you're doing this at 200%, so it's going to be a little distorted. But it looks like that's a lot cleaner. If you can see the before, this is the before and this is after. So it's a little on the soft side, but a lot of that noise is gone. I can recover detail a little bit more if I like. And maybe reduce blur, but I don't want to take that too far. Alright, but that's looking pretty good, so I'm going to click OK, and this will take that back into Photoshop. Alright, so now we've got this back into Photoshop. I can zoom into 100% and just take a quick look around and see how it's looking. So that's looking pretty good there, and you can see the before and the after. Let's check out our sky. I think our sky is looking pretty good. Maybe a little bit of grain still left in those clouds, but not too bad. So then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my denoise layer and I'm going to make a copy of it. And we're actually going to do our sharpening here. So I'm going to call this my sharpen layer. And with that layer selected, I'm going to go up to filter, other, and then high pass. And then you'll get this dialog box with the navigator window in it. So you can move to whichever area of the photo you like to see how it's being sharpened. And what this is going to do is it's going to look for all the edges in your photo. And you want to be really, really careful with this. If you go too high, so like if I pull this up to 4, and you can see even in the bigger window, you start to get a lot of sharpening and you start to get these halos around your edges, and you don't want this. So this takes just the slightest touch. So I'm going to pull this back down to about 1.2. I would keep it below 1.5. 1.5 is too much for just about any photo that I've ever done. So I'm going to leave this around, well, maybe we'll go like 1.2. So I'm going to leave it there. I'm going to click OK. And then I'm going to take my blending modes and I'm going to set this to hard light. Now you can use overlay, soft light, or any of the other blending modes in this section here. I like to use the hard light. It's a little bit harder than most. But what happens is I can take the opacity down if I think it's coming out a little too harsh. So now with the blending mode changes, you can see if we zoom in our sharpening. And that's looking pretty good. So there's after our denoising and then after our sharpening. So it's bringing back some of those details that we denoised away back into the photos. So this is looking a whole lot better. So if you go from what it was and then to the final image, it's a lot cleaner. Alright, now once you have your sharpening done, what you can do is you can add a mask to your sharpen layer, and you can go through and remove the sharpening off of anything that you don't really want sharpened. So say in my sky, we've got lots of wispy clouds, and there was a little bit of grain left in there, and I don't really want this to be all over my clouds. So I'm going to grab a black brush and just go over that with a soft brush and paint out the sharpening in those areas. Now I won't take the time to do it all now, but you can see the wispiness of the clouds are now unsharpened, and so that's still nice and sharp. Alright, so we'll just zoom back out here and just quickly go along with my brush. And also, if you started to get any kind of little tiny halos around the edges, you can maybe go with a really soft brush and get some of that off as well. Any remnants from your sharpening. But I think we are actually pretty good there. Whoop. So we'll just do a big brush. Okay. But you get the idea. I'm not going to go through this and make it perfect. Alright, so once we've done that, we can do a Control-Alt-Shift-E. So now we can do any additional processing on this photo without having the noise in the background. So I hope this helps you. I hope you will give this a shot and see how it works for you. Thank you for watching. See you soon.